Good afternoon, early evening, everyone. How are you? It is so great to see you here this evening. We are so happy to see so many people who come to the meetings and who are interested in what we are doing and willing and able to share your points of view on the redistricting. So we thank you. We thank you for coming. We're proud to offer you our draft map. If you would see to the back, there was a draft map to the back. So please take a look at either one of them. We have two of them for your perusal. And we'd like you to all, as you look at them, give us your comments and suggestions, things that you say, hey, maybe you might want to look at this, or maybe you might want to think about this. That's your job. Our job is to listen and to comment. With that in mind, we have 13 of our 15 commissioners with us today. And so what we would like to do is we have mics in the front that if you want any commissioner to speak to you and to share any information, they'll be glad to do that. We do have a mic so that that's available to you. Okay? All right, thank you. That's the bathroom, little bowl housekeeping. The bathroom's right here. Okay? It's got a high seat. So if you have to jump up on it, we'll help you if that's necessary. Okay. Okay. All right, as we know, this marks the biggest milestone so far in the process that began in 2019 when the voters approved an independent commission to look at redistricting here in the city of Syracuse. We hadn't done one in 20 years. This is our late commissioner, the late Jackie. Jackie, I think there's a seat for you up there. Just like they would say the late Marilyn Monroe. She's our Marilyn. Okay. All righty. So as we move on, the commissioner's work was guided by census data. Okay. And this is legal requirements that come from federal, state, and local law. And our priorities were based on those public listening sessions. We had 5 listening sessions. We hope that maybe you were able to attend 1 or 2 of those. And now we're going to have 5 more. And this is number 4 of the 5. Okay. So we thank you for attending. All right. There's a lot of things that go into what makes up a district about its population size. It can't be this small or this large. It's got to have this many people in it, a percentage. And those are the things that I'm going to let the commissioners explain to you, because I've learned in the past that you're not really listening to me. Okay, you're waiting to talk to the commissioners and to see what it is that they have to say. But we did want to mention several things here, and hopefully in mentioning these things, you will have some comments on those. Our priorities for the draft map were as follows. We based them on public feedback, and we did a lot of discussion within the commission itself. We talked a lot. We met a lot, virtually and in person. We decided that it was best and in the interest of the city to create a Black majority district, and that's District 8 on the map, okay? Even though the Voting Rights Act said that that's not a requirement, we decided that the creation of such a district would be beneficial to the citizens of that district, as well as the common councilors, and now or in the future. We wanted to keep the neighborhoods whole. So we've had comments for people saying this belongs in our neighborhood, or we want you to think about including that neighborhood. And we did. We did our best to do that. We tried not to separate any neighborhoods. We thought also of communities of interest. And that's a population that lives near each other. So we looked at that because we had received some feedback on people who wanted to be, this is our other late commissioner. Okay, that they had social or economic interests, that they shared that. Okay. This meant that whenever and wherever possible, we did not want to divide them into separate districts because that would dilute their ability to have their voices heard by representation. Okay. We attempted to keep the community of interest intact and based on our understanding, given the information by you, what that was. Okay, and we tried to do that across the entire city. We took into account the removal of I-81. Yes, we know that's not going to happen anytime soon. That may not happen anytime in the near future. But what we wanted to do was we looked at that. How would we look at the map? And we wanted to focus on the draft map, on the current status of that area, possibly thinking about how it may look and may change in 2030 and 2040. And we also looked at the resources within the districts. Okay, we tried to ensure that there were things like grocery stores, parks, neighborhoods, and that the communities who wanted them to remain there, actually, we heard their voices. And we wanted each common counselor to advocate for their services, that we were not going to be the voice, because I don't know if I said this or if you've heard this previously, but we could not base anything of the drawing of the map on anything that had to be with who the current common counselor was, where they lived, or anything like that. We could not take anything like that into account. We worked with the Benjamin Center at SUNY New Paltz, and Jeffrey Weiss is on the screen. So if you would like to ask any questions of the individuals at that center, please feel free to do so. They have decades and decades of experience working with different communities on redistricting, and we must say that they were very valuable to us as well. So we thank them. When you come up, please, this is your forum, your time. It's your ability to say what you think about these maps, or this map, this first draft map that we have drawn. So if you have anything to say, we ask that you come up, that you stand right here so that you can be seen on view, because this is being streamed, and we want people to be able to see you and to hear you and to have any, and to listen to any comments that you may make. Any questions so far? What we're also going to happen today is some of the commissioners are going to come up and explain to you and possibly use that map to actually draw some things if you have questions on why can't this be here. Remember, we were bound by federal, state, and local law that had to do with members and or people who lived in that district, people who lived in that area. It had to be a certain number of individuals. And I don't, is the map there that must be behind? Yeah, in the middle, the one right behind the young man. Okay, right, the chart in the middle, that shows the number of individuals in the district. Thank you, Counselor, for pointing that out. Okay, so please take a look at those so that you might have a question where we want to be able to answer your question to the best of our ability. We'll thank the two Common Counselors that are here today, Common Counselor Scholl. We thank you for being here, and the other one. Okay. Okay, Schultz. Thank you for coming. Okay. All righty. So now we're open. This is your time. We have 1 hour. I am your timekeeper. I am your watch. If you're a little long, I will come over and just pull on your skirt tail or shirt tail and tell you that we're going to try to move this along so that more people can ask questions. We thank you for coming. This is a nice crowd. We appreciate it. So we thank you. Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Do you mind if I take my mask off while I talk?
Yeah, please do.
Good evening. I'm Andrea Wandersee. I'm the Executive Director of NEDA, which is the Community Development Organization located in the Holly Green neighborhood. We serve 10 census districts on the census tracts on the north side. I live in Eastwood on Cook Avenue. So right now I live in District 1. I think I had just two reflections that are on my mind. One is the section on, the green one, where the green one dips down and cuts up Holly Green into two sections. I have a funny feeling that was done for population purposes. I think Holly Green does think of itself as a contiguous whole, and they feel really strongly about that. So did I thank you for all your work? I meant to lead with that. I suspect this has been a monster of a project, and what a wonderful service. So thank you all for all your thoughtful work. So I don't know if that's possible to change that, but I suspect Holly Green is going to kick and scream a little bit, being divided.
Do you have a suggestion based on the map on where you think, if it's possible, population-wise, we'll figure that out, but where would you put the line?
So I just use James Street. Yeah. And I don't know what you'd cut in to get those extra people.
So you're asking us to add that section of Holly Green into the north side, which is now District C.
So that's one way to think of it. I was actually thinking of it as the yellow, but
Oh, you want to add it all to D?
Hill and Holly Green all
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
people here who disagree, which I totally would understand and respect. But in my mind, I think of sort of south of James Street as a natural divider.
Okay.
I am not the voice of Holly Green though, and so if there's Holly Green neighbors, I would really want them to speak up.
Before you,
Yes.
may I come to grab the mic
Oh, please.
so that people online can hear us?
Yeah.
So is this about what you were thinking? So I added everything south of James Street. There's a funny little corner. I'm not sure that's mostly just highway, I think. Right.
I mean, it matters definitely. I'm trying to of a business corridor and that's
Sure. Okay. I'm trying to make sure I'm getting what you're suggesting. So what you see, and just to back up, you are 100% right. It's for population reasons.
Yeah.
That we would have absolutely kept the Holly Green triangle intact. As you see, the green over there, the green number
yeah.
is now 1,000 people short. It's 1,000 people short, and so that doesn't mean it's impossible. Doesn't mean we can't find 1,000 more people somewhere else. But that's the reason it is in the current draft.
And then I had one other comment. Sorry. I think the other piece, when I look at C and D, or yeah, the yellow and the green, I know like right now, the way the green is drawn is that is a high poverty district. I know you talked about having a black focus district in the south on A. Is that the same thought process in green to keep a consistent sort of socioeconomic group together so they have better representation? I feel like the yellow district is become much more sort of gentrified or middle to upper middle class. And I don't know what the thought process was on that.
Molly?
Our thought process around the north side was making the north side whole. And so in the current maps, that line is drawn up Court Street. So a sliver of Washington Square is currently in District 2. So we wanted to make the north side whole, and we're thinking about areas and streets that are more like the others. And so while it wasn't like a purposeful thing to have a minority plurality per se, it is the way that it worked out. So I do think that the north side, it's the smallest looking district now, but it probably has the most in common in total.
Anyone else? Oh, right here. I'm sorry. Come on. Go here, shoot.
Thank you. If I could follow up on Andrea's comment, because I love that little mapping device. Is that available to the public? Darn it. If only I'd known I could have done it myself. So here's my little pink map. So basically, if Andrea's proposal to keep Holly Green together and keep that in the D district because it has similarities with Lincoln Hill, I see James Street kind of being a natural, pretty significant border, only because it's kind of a dangerous street, as we all know. And so everything north of James Street, I see as the north side, and south of James Street as Eastwood D. So wondering if it's possible to include Sedgwick in the C district. We've got Schiller Park that unifies us. We've got the Sedgwick, Highland, James Street Historic District. And so I wanted to ask that question. I don't know which one of you couldn't answer that, but was that considered that preservation district? The historic?
We did not speak specifically on the historical elements of Sedgwick, but District C, currently District 1, was overpopulated, so it had to be cut no matter what.
Sure.
And so our priority, what we heard from those first round of meetings, was getting Washington Square in with the rest of the north side.
Absolutely.
And so we wanted, and we already had to cut, and now we're having to add. And so to us, it looked like Sedgwick had more in common with Eastwood than it did with the rest of the north side.
Right. And I could certainly see that and can make a case for it. And I was actually an advocate for bringing Washington Square back to the north side versus Tip Hill crossing over 81. But again, that preservation district, I don't know if you know the history of Sedgwick Farm. I lived there, so I've learned over the past 15 years, but it actually started down on Lodi Street. So that's why the 13203 zip code. And so all the way up onto Highland Ave, the 200 block, all the way down to DeWitt Street. Now on DeWitt Street, which is where you have the boundary now, and I could make a case for that as well, because the side that you have in District D is actually more historic, if you will, than the other side. However, 300 block, 200 block are part of that historic district. And so if you see any of the neighbors on the north side walking, it's all kind of like circling around that Schiller Park. So there is an identity. So I just wanted to throw that out there and say that that Sedgwick Highland James Preservation District is significant to the folks that live there. And I can tell you that they're lifers, as many people in other parts of the town are too, 45 years plus. We've got one that's 55 years living in the neighborhood. So that's my thing. So, okay, no problem. And you don't have to answer that right now. And now that I know I can get that tool online, I should have done that. I'm going to be playing a lot. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, you can. We want you to make as many comments as you like.
And Jennifer, I hope you won't dislike me for this one, but well, I love you too, and you do such a great job. I can see where maybe having Sedgwick as part of District C might make it harder for someone from other neighborhoods in the north side to be a successful candidate. In the council, yeah. I can just see that. So I think I'll just stop there. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and full disclosure, I mean, years ago, I also ran for District 1, so I've spent some time there.
Or what is a consideration? I want you to be specific. No, no, no. No, not as you talking about how we drew the map. It is not a consideration, the drawing of the map.
I'm just wondering if that is a good point to consider, that somebody in the Green District perhaps would be not as successful or perhaps more successful than somebody in the North.
We don't consider that, and we probably can't even speak to it because voting is private. Yeah. You want to say anything? Okay. Common Councilor Schul, would you like to say anything? Have a question for us?
Good evening. Hi. So for me, I had a little comment in terms of Elmwood neighborhood being, especially the lower part of. I got to be careful with this one because neighbors usually don't like it to be called Lower Elmwood, right? But when you look at the Lower Elmwood, Elmwood neighborhood, especially when you look at when you drive to Strathmore, and then just like few stepping into Elmwood, it changes, right? So the little part that you have cut off from Elmwood into Strathmore that goes into Winkworth, into Tipperary Hill, I thought it made sense to take that part and put it with the valley as to go to District A in a sense. So that's the comment I would like to have, rather than pushing that into Strathmore. We were talking about candidate being successful, and when you combine Strathmore, Winkworth, and Tipperary Hill together, chances of the person that live in Lower Elmwood being successful in that district probably would be challenging. But again, you guys know better. All right, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you. You want to speak to that? Oh. Okay.
I'm going to do my anthem again. I'm going to thank you guys for everything that you've done because I know this was a very, very laborious process and it was all volunteer. So I really do appreciate you all. But what I'm going to say is this. We can make a case for all the districts, okay? Because if you talk about the fourth district is the south side, but they have downtown, they have University Hill. So you're talking about three completely different districts, okay? So at some point, something has to close off the lines. I'm with a lot of people. I would rather take University Hill out the fourth district, but I'm not drawing the lines. So I'm going to actually leave it to these folks. They've been doing it now for the last, 3 years? 9 months. Okay, we started 3 years ago. It feels like forever. But no, I'm just saying that to say this. We're not going to say it's perfect, okay? But this has been a 20-year process that we've taken on in the last 10 years. So we're going to get a crack at it again. 10 years from now, we'll be back at the table. They're going to leave us with some opinions of what they think we should do. Some of the opinions may be a little different from what we see now. Instead of 5 counselors, you might have 7. So there's going to be a lot of different things changing. I just want everybody to kind of just calm down a little bit because everybody's getting pieced out some kind of a way. Everybody's district is changing in some kind of a way. So I'm just saying, let's give them a little break here. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody want to respond to that? Charles, you wanted to respond to? No, you look at it. Not right now. Okay. Yeah, about the Strathmore question. Tony, you want to do?
Yeah, so in regards to the Strathmore question, when we were started making the building blocks of the map, the first block we decided as a group and we heard from the public was the majority district on the south side. So if we were to take Strathmore and cut it down into the valley, that would take away our goal number 1. So that's kind of where our thought process was. And when we started buddying up neighborhoods, like to then build a district, Strathmore's buddy neighborhood would be Tipperary Hill. So I hope that answers a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. So when you look at map B and you look at where
Zoomed in more.
But you're talking about this is Elmwood.
you see here where the hill view is,
Yeah.
see see where it cut off here. I think when you talk about Strathmore, it really see where Clyde, Hillview, I was thinking these area right here, right? See this area? More with the valley as opposed to Strathmore. That's what I'm saying.
So that is in with the valley.
Okay, so
So that pink
uh-huh.
is with the valley and the south side,
Okay, so where does it cut off?
right where the color changes on blue on Summit,
Okay,
South here.
Glenwood, Summit.
Summit.
okay. Okay, pull it down a little bit, Crescent, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that's what if that's the case,
Yeah.
getting, like when you, so where South Ave
Yeah.
meet Glenwood, right? Right there, right? And then you go to Clyde, right? Okay, and then that's,
There's South Ave right here,
yeah,
Glenwood,
okay, right there, okay.
and we took this neighborhood
Uh-huh,
and we kept it with the south side and the valley.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the Lynch Ave, okay.
So this is
See,
all.
I would have thought that, where Glenwood cut off coming towards south, that's their side, I would suggest it being a little bit to the valley as opposed to the Strathmore, but I guess I gotta read it better.
Righty, you dropped all your maps. All righty, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? We're looking at it is now 5:55. This is Jay. Hi, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. So thank you all the commissioners and councilors here too, County Ledge, Mary Quinn. So my experience while knocking the doors after Andrea is pretty, the quality of life before this redistricting even started. We have been hearing in the TNT meetings that the whole north side, I know Sedgwick is north side, Lincoln is, Holly Green is all north side, but keeping that north side in one, I think is very good idea because we need more attention, more good diverse representation on that area because we have a very diverse moving population every now and then. I know you did based on the population, but population also keep moving in that area all the time. So I don't have any like the block-wise comments on this one. I just want to thank you and also like to commend you guys all for keeping that north side on one phase because that need more attention because of the housing quality, because of the crime, because of all those the poverty issue. So we have so many things that we need to address. And with that being said, it's very diverse population. Keeping that diverse population intact will help the blocks and community members to move forward. So thank you, Mel.
Thank you. I feel like I'm in church. We are slowly converting.
Oh, okay. Right here. Thank you very much. I just want to thank you again for all of your work. I'm a county legislator, and I'm so jealous that you guys got to do this. And echoing what Jai said, on the north side in the county is like 5 or 6 different districts. So this is awesome. I just have a question that may be an ignorant one because I haven't. This is my first one. Why are there only 5 districts? So I'm sorry, you probably answered this all the time. I'm not asking to change him. I'm trying to understand.
Right.
Oh, so it has
So
to
we
be
have
5.
the city
Okay.
charter, and so to have more than 5 districts, which we initially thought of, like, hey, what would it be like to
Okay.
do that? It was
All right.
absolutely an idea.
As I said, I had an ignorant question.
No, it's not ignorant.
Mostly I wanted to say thank you, and I'm really jealous. And I hope you all stay intact and then you work with the county 10 years from now.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Any other concerns? Any other comments? Okay, come on. You can need you up here. Need you up here. I know, but we need you. We need you.
You said that the North Side District is short of population. Is that true?
No, that's if she moves.
It looks smaller because it's more tightly packed, like per square mile or per square.
Okay. Okay, but everything is balanced right now?
29.9.
Okay.
So every 29,900.
So,
Back there in the back, it's listed for you if you want to take a look at it.
so our mandate is that the largest district and the smallest district cannot be more than 5% of the population, which is, what was it, about 1,500? Right. So we have to, the largest district, I can't see them, but let's say it's A and the smallest district is B. They can't have a difference of 1,500 people. So if it's 1,501, we just got to figure out how to redraw the map to make sure that it fits within that, because that's our legal mandate.
Stand right in here so they can see you on the streaming.
This is
Right.
my first time. I apologize. This is my first time being here at any of these meetings, and I feel awful. But I want to be active and know who's in charge of my council, my district. I want to be a part of my community. At the same time, it sounds like I'm hearing you guys want to keep the poor people with the poor people. Don't include them with any rich people. And it's kind of scary to hear you guys say, oh, we're going to keep this socioeconomical people there, you know, the black people in the black area, the poor people, which North Side is poor, like you guys said. We're going to keep you guys together. That doesn't sound good.
That's not what we do.
That's why I asked.
I know, and thank you for.
Okay. John, you want to handle this? Okay.
And I understand though. I understand about the numbers and having no more than, like you guys said, the maximum of somebody have 33,000, somebody have 2,800. No, sorry, cut yours. I understand that as far as the population, but to make a community grow, and I understand people that have been there for 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, whatever it is, change is change, and I understand change is change, but I wouldn't want to be in a poor district all the time, all my whole life till I'm in the grave. I want something better, and for people to want something better should be okay and heard. And I'm so angry at myself for
Don't
not.
be, you're fine. You're fine. Let me just, there's two issues. The first is we created a minority majority district. We thought that was important because if you looked at the statistics of all of our 5 common council districts as they exist now, whites have a majority of the population in every district. Okay. In that District A, the majority of the people that live there are African American. And okay, guess what? I do too. And that district is not as poor as it looks. Okay. It really isn't. By adding the other side of Court Street, okay, there's a huge diversity in socioeconomic circumstances. If you threw a dart in the middle of District C, that's where I live. Okay. And thank God I'm doing a little better than most of my neighbors. Okay. And we thought about that, and we tried to create not only a district that had equal population to all the other districts, but by including that upper part of the north side, which is truly the north side. Okay. That's where the baseball stadium is. It's where the mall is. All of that, maybe not the mall. Mall's probably in B, but is it ours? Okay. So it's not yes, there's concentrated poverty in District C, but there's also a lot of people who are well off. So it's more balanced than it looks on paper. Okay. It really is.
Holly wants to have something to say to that as well. Okay.
Okay, and if you really drill down in the numbers, because that was also part of our process, along with getting the actual raw numbers, we also looked at socioeconomics. And so if you think about, people, I live on the north side. And so, people say, oh, well, like you were saying, concentrated poverty. But there's concentrated poverty in Section A. There's concentrated poverty on the near west side, which is Section B. Like every single district has high earners as well as some concentrated poverty. We wanted to make sure that that was balanced out as well. So it's not like we just picked the district and said, well, we're going to just pick on that one district and make sure all the other districts were uneven. We tried to make these districts as even as possible. And I also want to address something real quick about the north side and that little bit of Hawley Green. I live in the Hawley Green area, and two things. And I 100% where I live, it's more like the other side of James Street. So I understand that. But the other thing I'll say is there's also two sides of Hawley Green. There's definitely two sides of Hawley Green. And so I think Hawley Green is the only neighborhood that we cut in half. I mean, a lot of people have been complaining about Salt Springs, and we get it that Salt Springs is more like or more akin to Meadowbrook. But to do that, we'd have to cut Salt Springs in half. And we wanted to make sure that those neighbors could, coalesce, rally, and become a voting block or whatever the case may be. So whomever is running, because that was one of the big complaints we had. One of the biggest complaints we had was that when someone runs, they never have to come to my neighborhood. They can just talk to these people and then get the vote. And that was a lot. I mean, what was the guy came was talking about the parks and everything. So so we wanted to make sure that we could keep full neighborhoods together. Hawley Green was the only one that got chopped. It is what it is.
And just speaking on that as well, we're also thinking in terms of representation. So yes, certain people are kept together, but we weren't thinking about it strictly in terms of socioeconomic status, but we're thinking about voting power and representation. So they will have reps who actually are like them and not like a neighborhood who happens to be in their district. By keeping districts most alike, we're thinking that we're giving them more voting power, was our initial thought.
One of the concepts that kept on coming up was community of interest. And that was an attempt to keep neighborhoods together, not to create homogeneous districts, but to keep neighborhoods together so they do have some impact on the representative that they elect. But it wasn't an attempt to stigmatize or to homogenize a particular district. As someone said early on, as John said early on, all of these districts are diverse, and a representative would have to be responsive to the diversity in each of these districts.
So before you walk away, I just want to tell you how grateful we are. We never get a chance to talk like this. So we just want to thank you for asking a question that we can all answer or we can all be a part of. So we appreciate it. And we thank you so much. And your voting power is going to matter. It's going to count. So we want you to really pay attention to that. Oh, of. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you mean, oh yeah, House broke down. Common Councilor, Legislator Garland, you want to have anything to say?
Yeah, tell the county to be here.
Okay. I said you got something to say.
Oh, nothing like coming and being put on the spot. Well, first of all, we just want to thank everybody on the panel. We want to, for all of your work. We know that nationally we've been seeing, a lot of the arguments, the pros and cons, but we all understand that it's a wonderful job, wonderful thing that you're all doing. Now, I just had a question. I just walked in. Now, as far as the maps with the populations, as far as the economic status of everybody, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to mix it up like half and half, or like 80-20? Because we all understand, and it's been proven, if you're mixing low income people with higher economic earners, those higher earners, they're going to vote, right, and in stronger numbers. So that was just one of the things that I was just wondering about also. But other than that, it's a wonderful thing what you're doing. I commend all of you.
Brenda, do you want to answer that?
I think, again, I have to reference, oops, thanks. All right. No. Reference back communities of interest, and I think that, I don't believe that the attempt was to do an 80-20 split. Again, we have to go by the data, but I think it's more of a need to move and keep communities of interest together, not necessarily by, obviously socioeconomic factors are going to factor into that. There's no way to get around it. But again, to keep people who had the most interest in common together. Along with also sticking to the legal ramifications that we had and the legalities that we had to follow. So.
Yes, yes.
So
Let's get up here.
So I understood that part of what really played a huge role here is economical in terms of demographic, right? Economic play a role. Now, did race in any way play a role? And if it did, when into deciding what percentage went into which district? As did you guys look at it that at all? It's just a curious question.
It's a great question.
We're going to
and I'm
pull
gonna
up
give it to
this
Tony.
demographics sheet right here on our TV. So this came into play, especially when we were thinking about certain areas like the Salt Springs area, for instance. So the Salt Springs area, obviously we believe Salt Springs is more east side than Eastwood, but we had to draw that line somewhere. And so if we look at the Salt Springs area, there was this concentrated area of Black citizens, and we wanted to make sure that we kept that together, again, for that voting power. So it wasn't necessarily a percentage, but we were looking at some of this graphed data in this way. And the same happened over on the west side, keeping that Hispanic population together, making sure that we weren't splitting up any big voting blocks for representation. The north side as well, there was some interesting data where it wasn't one particular race, but I think the stat that we saw was like English as a second language. And so like looking at some of those factors and trying to think of communities of interest in that way. So we weren't looking at hard numbers in terms of percentages in each district, except for with the exception of District A.
But I'm going to pull your coattail.
Okay. So for me, as a counselor, as you give us, as Madam President asked earlier, as you give us numbers, I got to look at that hard. Is there racial percentage next to that at all? It is. Excellent.
Just to clarify, it's the percentage of the voting age population. So when we draw these, we have to go by the entire population, but those numbers over there is only 18 and up.
I'm done.
Oh, yeah. Are you sure? Are you sure? Okay. We have someone online who's like to ask a question. So, Jahan, if you would let him go. Yeah.
Am I on? Yes. And here.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, my name is John Meyer, and I'm the coordinator for the Washington Square Task Force. And I just wanted to tell you that for years, Washington Square has been divided. One section in one council district and the other section where I'm in, the traditional Washington Square, is over in Tip Hill with the representative there. And it was done that way back in the 1950s and 60s. So consequently, it was done that to split some of the Democratic Party in the city back then. And that put that section under the control of Tip Hill. So we haven't had a person who's truly from Washington Square in 40 or 50 years. So we wanted to be united as neighbors to be in one group. So we really appreciate the fact that the committee put Washington Square together and kept us together. So I just wanted to say thank you. And that has nothing to do with racial or demographics. It's simply put the neighbors together. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All right. We've got like 15 minutes left. You got to come up here. We want to see you and hear you.
I want to echo that as I look at this map, the ability for us to organize as neighbors is profoundly higher. And so I just really want to thank you for the work that you did. Those, as someone who's lived here now for almost 12 years, looking at those borders, they feel really logical, where the old borders felt completely illogical to me. I now also will only have to work with one council person, and I believe that we'll be able to have a lot more voting power and a lot more leverage because of it. So thank you for the work that you did to make that possible. I wanted to know if we can get the racial demographic maps. I was looking at the Google Drive and couldn't find them on there. So I was wondering if those could be added again as we're talking with people in the community that didn't come to this meeting. I think that's going to be a significant question, as well as
as you mentioned, either the foreign-born statistics that are from the census and/or English as a second or third or fifth language. Those statistics, just kind of how those break down in the community when it comes to voting power and representation. I think those are going to be really important questions for people who don't show up to these meetings. So if you could equip those of us who did with that information, that would be really, really helpful. And so I think that is, the one other question that I had was, as this turns over, I'm sorry, I missed the beginning. You probably said this. When does this go into effect? So at the point of the next election is when it goes into effect. There's 2023.
It's got to be voted on.
When is the next Common Council election though? So yeah, so it'll go into effect with the next election. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Just wanted to say a couple things. One of them is our next meeting is going to be the 14th at Southwest Community Center. And then, so that's going to end the 5 meetings that we've had, the public hearings. Then we're going to get together and we're going to draw the map again. And we're going to listen to what you had to say. We thank you for your comments. We thank you for all the input that you've been providing us. And we're going to do our best to make you happy. It might not work, but we're going to try. Okay? We're going to do our best. And then after that, we have 2 more, after we make that presentation, we then have 2 more times to talk about it. And that's going to be one on the north and one on the south side of the city. And then we turn it over to our illustrious common councilors, and they determine whether or not what they're going to do or say about it, whether they're going to approve it. So it's a process. So we need your input. We love your input. We desire your input. And please also go to our Facebook page and go to the city government page and put any comments you might have in there. Okay, we appreciate that. We are now looking at 617. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to add one thing to what you just said, which is super important. That so this is a draft. We're going to revise it. We're going to have 2 more meetings for public comment, one north of 690 and one south of 690. After that, we will make any last-minute changes if necessary and submit to the Common Council. Now, when we do that, they can either approve or send it back to us. They can't make any changes. If they approve it, it goes into effect at the next election, as we said. If not, they send it back to us, and we do that dance however long we all have patience for.
Anybody else? Come on, sir. I didn't see you over there.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you very much to everyone here who volunteered for this job. It must be very difficult and very informative. As someone who has lived in Syracuse basically his entire life, and then particularly for the last 4 months within the actual city boundaries, I lived in the lakefront area now since January. And like I said, I've lived in Geddes for basically my entire life, all but 6 years. But I've always identified as the lakefront area as more north side than west side. And I keep on hearing problems with, the Salt Springs neighborhood. And I understand that there are, logical arguments for, both, reasonings as to why, one side of Salt Springs is put into another. But my question is that given that particular quandary, has there been any consideration of shifting I know it's not a populated area, but with north side also undergoing a similar transformation, wouldn't it make, I guess, maybe more sense to include the lakefront area in with a north side district versus a west side district that is not as transformative in a transformative stage?
We hear you, but who's going to answer that north side question? This is Jackie. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I would just say that I agree with you. That was my initial reaction too, but because of the numbers and it's a lot of population in that north side, so we did move that line, to incorporate the Washington Square district, and then to move it any farther, it kind of throws everything off. But I think our goal then became to keep at least you're intact with sort of the downtown area, lakefront, Franklin Square, and at least
the goal is to not cut it in half in any way. So you're still intact, just maybe not on in one district or the other, if that makes sense.
And I think we need to really reiterate that this was made based on the 2020 census. So it was the information, we used the information we were given. Okay, we didn't make up any information. No.
And to piggyback on what Colleen said, that we also were looking at how development was going and how it seems like it's downtown and it's reaching towards the lakefront area. And then the other thing is with our consultants and also with part of our mandate, it said that we should use natural boundaries. And we just thought the highway is clearly a natural boundary. So we didn't want to like kind of leapfrog anything.
It's been different for so many years, and now we've just
We were
tried to
thinking
make-
about some of that young population, Franklin Square, Armory Square, downtown. We thought they went well with Tip Hill. And so when we were, it's hard because right now we have a middle district in the middle of the map, and we don't in the new districts. We had to figure out what to do with downtown.
Come on, come here, come up here. Come on up, come on up.
And we're totally distinctively different from Walton Street in Franklin Square. So you're pushing us into Walton and downtown?
So with downtown and Franklin Square are more similar population of people. Downtown with the lakefront, the new construction on the Inner Harbor are similar demographic of people. We also needed more population on the west side. It's the least populated district before, so the old maps. So we needed to grab as much population as possible, and that brought us into downtown. Made sense. It also kept neighborhoods together. We didn't split them up.
So I'm not on the west side anymore.
You're on the west side.
Oh.
I think.
All righty then. Okay.
So we took downtown, brought it over to Franklin Square, and then engulfed all of the lakefront area, Inner Harbor, down to Tip Hill, and we grabbed Strathmore. That's one district. And all that area is 29,900 people. And that little area of Northside in District C, that's also 29,900 people. But we're keeping the neighborhoods together.
Okay, I get it. But just humor me one time, one question, right? No. I know I'm gonna give him a break. I just want, just for the record, how many total meetings have you guys had since you started? Oh, I know. I just want for the record.
Oh, ninth public meeting.
Ninth public.
Ours, 3,400.
You mean total meetings?
No, I'm talking the total meetings.
Oh,
Our public, 9.
yeah, 9.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yep. Not the county. This is the city. You guys know how to do it right. No, all right. Yes. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Now, one of the things I heard you say, like you were planning ahead and other things, right? With certain maps, District A, right now there's like, an African-American, not exactly super majority, all right? But when you say that you were planning ahead, was there any consideration of, because we know it's going to happen, the removal of Pioneer Homes, Central Village, 4,000 to 5,000 African-American voters, which we know will change that voting demographic. Right now, the map obviously isn't showing that. It will happen. So was there any thought to that? Hold on, let's do the panel first.
My name is Jeremy Montague, and I've been to
almost all the public meetings. You can't make changes based on what you think is going to happen a year down the road or 5 years down the road. You have to go by.
Forethought, foresight. That was why I asked if there was any thought, yeah.
But you have to use the 2020 data.
Right, and that's what I understand. Unfortunately, that's what you're locked into, having to use that. But was there any consideration?
Yes. Lots of consideration. We did have plenty of discussions about it, especially with the coming down of 81.
At least you thought
About it, absolutely. But when it came down to it, we really couldn't bring out the crystal ball to figure out what is going to actually end up happening to those neighborhoods. Right? We don't know how the demographics will change. We don't know if they'll get more population, less population.
But what we hope for and what we hope that we've done is we can, the next commission, we have laid the groundwork for the next commission to come on and to make any corrections that are necessary or to change any things that will affect that, because we can't do a darn thing with it.
Right, we just use history as a guide. That's what we use. History as a guide, so, okay?
Well, but we had to use the numbers in the law. You know?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're now looking at 6:26. Time for one last question. Then we're going to shut this baby down. Any?
No one got it.
Oh, okay.
So it just another one. It's not a hard question. It's just one for consideration. There are districts with a lot of business district. Now, was that considered in some way at all?
Yeah, as they're saying, mostly just to keep such things intact. So for example, in the current map, the Westcott Business District, which is not very big, there's only a couple blocks long, is actually split between two districts. And so that was the sort of thing that we've tried to fix. But other than that, trying to keep, 10 business districts in each district, we didn't discuss at all.
I just want to make a comment that if anybody has any questions about how this committee got formed, is to look at the ordinance, because that's on our Facebook, it's on our page, to say the least. And if you have questions about the census data before we can get that out, you can always look up the US Census and it'll tell you by census tract what the population in that area is. So just an FYI.
Okay, 3 minutes. It's going to be the last one. Okay.
This is in follow-up to my previous question. As you prepare to do the next round, could we make sure that we get equipped with all those maps and things in advance? Because I would really love to do the community engagement beforehand with all that data I was mentioning before. So if we could get those maps with those overlays in advance by at least like 10 days before the meeting, that'd be fun.
You can get them now.
Yeah, they're on our social media.
They're on social media. We've already got them posted.
I'm saying the new ones, because you said you're going to redo them, right?
No, we don't redo them until after we have the last two meetings. Then we do the next one.
So you're going to do
Yeah.
one
Right. And one more round, which is the
You
14th of
said you're going
June.
to take into account our feedback and change them.
That's after the June 14th. And then we're going to meet. And then we're going to post whatever we do. We're always going to post. It's always going to be on social media. It's available to you. You can download and copy to your heart's content.
If we release a new map, we'll then release the new data along with the map. So you can then see the demographics of each district.
But it's available. What we have now, you can get. Okay. All righty. We wanted. Oh no. Okay. No. I'm just.
Super quick.
Okay.
First of all, you guys are amazing. Secondly, you addressed both of my concerns I had earlier, so thank you. I released those as concerns. I was talking with a neighbor here who didn't want to stand up, and that person was questioning Holly Green and Lincoln Hill as to whether or not that belonged on the north side. Not so much Sedgwick, but over to Teal, belonging to the green area. So if all of Holly Green and all of Lincoln Hill over to Teal popped in with the north side, those are what NEDA and the Northeast Community Center serve. So we think about them that way. Done.
Yeah, that probably just comes down to a numbers game. Yeah.
We're going to trust. We're going to meet and talk some more. We have recorded this. People have taken notes, and we listen to you. And you've also had the opportunity to hear our feedback. So that being said, we want to thank you for coming tonight. We want to thank you for meeting and sharing with us. We appreciate you. We appreciate. Tell your friends to come to the very last public hearing, and that's going to be at, say, June the 14th at Southwest Community Center. June the 14th at Southwest Community Center. What day is it? Southwest Community Center. There you go. We expect to see you there. Thank you. Have a great night.